You didn't stumble upon this message by accident. You were guided here by something far older and more intelligent than your conscious mind, an awareness that has been quietly steering you through coincidences, whispers, and impossible timing. You can feel it, can't you? That strange gravitational pull that makes certain moments stand out from all the rest, as if the universe itself is leaning closer, waiting to see whether you'll notice what's really happening beneath the surface of your life. Right now, as you listen, something within you is stirring, an ancient memory of what it actually means to observe. Because every reality you've ever lived, every success and failure, every heartbreak and miracle, has been sculpted by one subtle force, the quality of your observation. Most people spend their entire lives looking without truly seeing. They confuse perception with awareness, believing their senses reveal the world as it is, when in truth, their senses only reflect the frequencies their consciousness is willing to collapse into form. You've been living inside what quantum scientists call an observer loop, a self-sustaining feedback pattern where your awareness keeps choosing the same frequencies, the same storylines, the same outcomes, again and again. And because the loop feels familiar, your mind interprets it as safety. But safety isn't freedom. Safety is repetition disguised as peace. You sense this, don't you? That quiet exhaustion underneath your daily routine. The weight of knowing there's more to existence than this endless replay of familiar emotions and predictable events. This message found you because your consciousness is done pretending that predictability equals stability. Something deep within you is ready to shatter the illusion of sameness and rediscover the infinite field of possibilities waiting just beyond your habitual attention patterns. The moment you break the observer loop, reality doesn't shift slowly, it transforms instantly because your entire universe was never out there. It has always been projected from within the quantum fabric of your own awareness. Imagine standing in front of an infinite hall of mirrors. Each reflection shows a slightly different version of you. One smiling, one afraid, one triumphant, one lost. Every reflection exists simultaneously, waiting for your gaze to give it light. When you focus on one version, that image solidifies and all the others fade into background potential. That's how the quantum field operates. Infinite realities all coexisting, all waiting for the observer's attention to make them real. Your observer loop is simply the habit of looking at the same reflection every day and calling it reality. But something has begun to crack. You've started catching glimpses of the mirrors you never noticed before. Maybe it happens in dreams, where you wake up in a different version of your life that feels more real than the waking world. Maybe it happens in déjà vu, those strange flickers where time folds in on itself and you sense that you've been here before. Not because the moment is repeating, but because your awareness is slipping between parallel timelines, trying to remind you that reality isn't fixed. Every time you've felt that eerie sensation that life is looping, that you're reliving the same argument, the same struggle, the same delay, it wasn't random frustration. It was your consciousness showing you the machinery behind manifestation, the hidden code of the observer loop itself. The universe isn't punishing you with repetition. It's inviting you to wake up from it. When you finally stop identifying with the reflection and begin to notice who is doing the observing, you create a quantum rupture, a breach in the loop that allows new timelines to flood in. That's when synchronicity starts accelerating. The right person calls at the exact moment you think of them. You turn on a song, and the lyrics answer the question you never spoke aloud. Technology begins to echo your thoughts. Time begins to bend around your awareness like light around gravity. These are not coincidences. They're evidence that your observer field is destabilizing. You see, the moment you become aware that you're observing, your consciousness steps outside the program that has been running you. Most people never reach that point because they're hypnotized by content, the stories, the emotions, the appearances of life, without realizing that all of it depends on their focus. The true leap doesn't happen when you change what you see. It happens when you change how you see. The instant you shift from reactive attention to conscious observation, your entire quantum signature changes. Everything begins to reorganize itself to match that new vibration. People who once drained your energy drift out of your orbit without drama. Opportunities you once chased start finding you instead. Even your body begins to respond differently, because your cells are listening too. They've always been part of the observer network. When you stop feeding your biology the same emotional frequencies of stress and fear, it begins to express new information, new vitality, new intelligence. This is the real secret of transformation. It's not about fixing or manifesting. It's about recognition. Recognizing that you were never trapped inside your circumstances. You were only entangled with the version of reality your observation kept reinforcing. You were the painter staring at one corner of the canvas, convinced that was the whole picture, while infinite masterpieces waited just beyond your gaze. The shift begins with something so simple it almost feels like nothing at all. You start to notice the pause between your thoughts, that silent space that appears for a split second before your mind rushes to interpret what's happening. That pause is the doorway. That's the point where the loop can no longer hold you, because in that instant you are pure awareness, unfiltered, unconditioned, infinite. The more you rest your attention there, the faster your old timelines dissolve. Reality begins to feel lighter, more fluid. You realize that nothing out there needs to change for everything to be different. The world mirrors your internal coherence. When your observation becomes clear, reality becomes cooperative. When your observation is fragmented by doubt, the universe mirrors that fragmentation back to you through confusion, resistance, and delay. But once coherence sets in, the quantum field rushes to meet you halfway. This is what ancient mystics meant when they said reality is a dream dreamt by consciousness. The dream doesn't respond to words. It responds to the vibrational signature of the dreamer. You've been whispering your reality into existence with every glance, every emotion, every expectation, whether you knew it or not. The observer loop was simply your unconscious mantra, repeating the same energetic phrase until the universe had no choice but to echo it back. But that mantra is dissolving now. You can feel it, that subtle trembling in your field, as if something vast is preparing to unfold. The patterns that once defined you are losing their substance, like smoke thinning in sunlight, and as they fade you begin to sense the spaciousness that was always beneath them. The limitless awareness that doesn't repeat, doesn't cling, doesn't fear the unknown. This is where everything begins to shift instantly. Because the moment you stop being the observer caught in the loop and become the awareness watching the observer itself, the program collapses. The simulation recognizes its host has awakened. Your reality changes not through effort, but through recognition. You don't need to force the mirrors to show a new image. You simply stop mistaking the reflection for yourself. And that right there is the quantum ignition point, the instant where coherence replaces repetition, where potential replaces pattern, where the universe stops replaying your past and begins streaming your highest timeline into now. When you realize that reality is not something happening to you, but something happening through you, the entire architecture of your perception rearranges itself. The universe stops being a sequence of external events and begins revealing itself as a mirror of your own evolving frequency. What you used to call coincidence now looks like choreography. Every delay, every meeting, every silence, every detour, all of it becomes a language. And that language has always been trying to show you the precise vibration you are emitting into the quantum field. You see, the field never lies. It cannot. It simply reflects. Whatever you are coherent with, it amplifies. Whatever you resist, it loops back until you can see the resistance itself. This is the essence of the observer loop. Not punishment but feedback. Consciousness designed reality as a training ground for awareness, a place where every reflection is an opportunity to recognize yourself more clearly. The paradox is that you've been both the student and the teacher all along. Every lesson you've ever faced was self-authored by a higher layer of your own intelligence. That part of you exists outside of time, and it already knows how each choice ripples across infinite probabilities. It is watching you not with judgment but with patience, waiting for the moment when you will finally remember that you are the one generating the experience. Right now, take a breath. Notice the subtle movement of air entering your lungs. That single breath is proof that you are participating in the grand exchange of energy between your inner world and the cosmos. With each inhale, you draw the universe inward. With each exhale, you broadcast a new pattern into existence. You are literally breathing reality into form. Most people do this unconsciously, recycling the same emotional frequencies with every breath. And so they keep calling the same version of Earth into being. But you're beginning to breathe differently. When the observer awakens, breath becomes awareness in motion. Every inhale carries the possibility of a new timeline. Every exhale releases the energetic residue of the old one. You are not bound by continuity unless you keep believing it. The past only survives through your agreement to remember it. The moment you stop identifying with memory as truth, the loop begins to disintegrate. Think about that. Memory is not evidence of what happened. It is a snapshot of how you felt while observing what happened. Change the vibration of the observer and the memory itself rewrites. This is why healing can appear miraculous. You don't need to travel back and fix the past. You simply step into a frequency where the past reorganizes to match your new coherence. The field doesn't care about chronology. It cares about vibration. You can prove this to yourself in subtle ways. Think of a moment when you felt trapped, when every option seemed closed. Now recall a time when life opened up effortlessly. Notice how each memory carries a distinct texture, a density or a lightness, a contraction or an expansion. Those textures are not psychological, they're energetic. The heavy memories are signatures of low coherence. The lighter ones are echoes of alignment. The difference between the two was never circumstance, it was observation. Once you understand this, reality becomes a fluid medium. You start to sense that every emotion, every thought, every word, is sculpting the quantum field in real time. You no longer chase outcomes, you tune frequencies. Instead of asking when will this happen, you begin to ask, what vibration would make this inevitable? And the universe answers instantly, because it always has. You are just too entangled in noise to hear the signal. Silence becomes your greatest instrument. In silence, the observer dissolves back into the field, and the field rearranges around that stillness. The ancients called this prayer, meditation, surrender. Quantum physics calls it wave function collapse. It's the same process. When you stop interfering with your own signal, reality has the space to reorganize itself into harmony. And here's the truth that most never grasp. The moment you stop searching for change, change rushes in. The loop thrives on effort because effort reinforces separation. The harder you try to alter reality, the more you confirm the belief that you and reality are separate things. But when you release the need to control the projection, you merge with the projector. You become the consciousness that is creating the film. At first, this can feel disorienting. The familiar anchors of identity start to dissolve. You may feel as if you're drifting between versions of yourself, unsure which one is real. That uncertainty is sacred. It's the dismantling of the old observer. The self that needed predictability is dying, and the awareness that knows itself as infinite is being born. Every time you rest in that uncertainty without reaching for old narratives, you expand the aperture of your perception. You start noticing the quantum signatures behind people's words, the subtle geometry behind coincidences, the way your emotions shape the speed of time itself. Minutes stretch or collapse depending on the coherence of your field. Some days feel like an entire lifetime compressed into an afternoon, and other days dissolve into a blur because your consciousness is shifting between timelines faster than your body can interpret. This is not imagination. This is physics viewed from the inside out. Time is not moving. You are. And when you move through consciousness rather than through hours, reality bends to accommodate your state of being. There will come a point, perhaps it's already happening, when the external world begins to respond almost too quickly. You'll think of someone and they'll appear. You'll release an attachment and immediately watch its physical counterpart rearrange. Don't fear this acceleration. It's a sign that your observer loop has finally cracked open and the feedback delay between thought and manifestation is collapsing. At that level, responsibility becomes sacred, because now, every emotion, every mental image, every subtle judgment is amplified. The universe is listening in real time. The field trusts you enough to mirror you instantly, without the buffer of delay that once protected you from your own unconscious patterns. This is mastery, not control over reality, but harmony with it. You begin to understand that love is not an emotion, it's a frequency of coherence. When your observation is infused with love, genuine, non-possessive awareness, the field aligns effortlessly. Fear is simply observation collapsed around separation. When you love what you see, even the shadow dissolves, because love observes without resistance. It doesn't try to change, it integrates, and integration is how timelines merge. As your coherence grows, the old world continues around you, but it no longer defines you. You walk through the same streets, speak the same language, yet everything vibrates differently. The air feels electric, conversations feel scripted by something higher, and your intuition begins predicting reality before it happens. This is not psychic ability, it's synchronization, Your awareness has synced with the quantum field's rhythm. You realize that destiny isn't a fixed path, it's a resonance pattern. The higher your frequency, the more gracefully the pattern unfolds. Effort turns into alignment, and alignment turns into inevitability. That's the secret the loop tried to hide. You never had to fight for manifestation. You only had to remember who was watching. When you observe consciously, the universe organizes around your recognition, not because you command it, but because it recognizes you as itself. That is when the field bows to you, not as a servant, but as a reflection acknowledging its source. There comes a moment in every awakening when you stop trying to decode the universe and start feeling its pulse directly through your own nervous system. You begin to understand that consciousness doesn't communicate in words, it communicates in resonance. The closer you get to coherence, the more reality feels like music, not notes on a scale but frequencies weaving themselves into existence around your awareness. Every decision you make, every thought that flickers across your field, adds another tone to this living symphony. Some notes harmonize, others clash. Most people spend their lives reacting to the discord, never realizing that the song they're hearing is one they're still composing. But the moment you become aware that you are both the composer and the instrument, something extraordinary happens. The noise begins to make sense. You start to feel the invisible rhythm guiding everything. The quiet intelligence beneath chaos. The perfection hidden inside imperfection. You no longer need proof or prediction, because you can feel alignment before you can explain it. And when you follow that feeling, reality unfolds with an elegance that no plan could ever engineer. This is the quantum art of surrender, not giving up, but giving in. You stop forcing outcomes and begin allowing frequencies to lead you. Your intuition becomes your navigation system, and it speaks in sensations rather than logic. The subtle expansion in your chest when something is true, the slight constriction in your gut when it's not. Those sensations are not random. They are your field speaking in the only language it knows, vibration. Every time you honor that guidance, you strengthen the bridge between the infinite and the finite. Every time you ignore it, the bridge flickers, not as punishment but as feedback. The field is asking, are you willing to trust yourself completely? Because that is what breaking the observer loop truly requires. Absolute trust in awareness itself. When you begin living this way, the illusion of cause and effect starts dissolving. You realize that events are not connected by linear sequence but by resonance patterns. What you used to call the future is simply a higher frequency version of the present waiting for your coherence to match it. And when it does, it doesn't arrive, it emerges. That's why quantum shifts feel instantaneous. They are not happening later. They're happening here, the moment you align with the version of yourself that already lives there. You can feel it as a subtle click inside your being. Like reality is just locked into a new calibration. Everything looks the same, but the atmosphere feels charged, alive, reconfigured. The people you meet begin reflecting the new frequency effortlessly. And opportunities that once seemed impossible start gravitating toward you as if magnetized by invisible desire. You realize that the universe was never testing you. It was tuning you. Every delay was a refinement of frequency. Every loss was a recalibration of alignment. You weren't being denied. You were being harmonized. And as soon as you understand this, even the so-called mistakes reveal their brilliance. The pain that once felt like punishment transforms into evidence of precision. Because nothing that happens in your field is random. It is all your energy learning how to sing in harmony with itself. As your coherence deepens, you start sensing the architecture of the field itself. You can feel timelines as textures in space. Soft, dense, luminous, heavy. And you begin to realize that movement through time is actually movement through texture. The lighter your observation, the smoother your trajectory. The denser your emotion, the slower the unfolding. This is why love accelerates evolution and fear slows it down. Love makes the quantum field malleable. Fear freezes it. When you choose love, not sentimentality, but pure recognition, your observation becomes transparent. The universe can flow through you without distortion. This transparency is what the mystics called enlightenment. It's not about transcending the human experience. It's about letting reality express itself through you without interference. You become a clear lens through which infinity perceives itself. And then something subtle yet astonishing happens. You begin to feel time watching you. The fabric of existence seems to pause as if the cosmos itself is taking a breath, waiting to see what you'll choose next. That's when you understand the observer loop was never a prison. It was a mirror maze designed to awaken your authorship. You were never supposed to escape it. You were meant to realize that you built it. Once you see that, your entire relationship with reality changes. The universe stops feeling like a riddle to be solved, and starts feeling like a conversation to be enjoyed. You stop asking, why is this happening? And start asking, what is this showing me? You realize that awareness doesn't need reasons, it only needs recognition. The moment you recognize the lesson hidden within the experience dissolves, because its purpose is fulfilled. At this level, even the concept of manifestation becomes obsolete. You no longer manifest, you reveal. You don't create abundance, you align with the frequency of abundance that was always present. You don't attract love, you remember that love has been observing you the entire time, waiting for your awareness to vibrate high enough to meet it. You realize that everything you've ever sought has been orbiting you all along, waiting for coherence to bring it into visibility. The quantum field does not respond to need, it responds to embodiment. To vibrate as if it's already here is to make it so. Because in truth, there is no later. There is only now, infinite, layered, holographic now. The moment you understand that, desire transforms into gratitude. You no longer crave what you don't have, because you can feel that every potential already exists within your frequency. Gratitude becomes the signal that stabilizes your chosen timeline. And the beauty of it all is that you don't have to understand the mechanics for it to work. You don't have to calculate quantum probabilities or measure energy states. You simply have to feel. The body was designed as a frequency translator. Your emotions are the readout of your alignment. When you feel peace, you're in coherence. When you feel resistance, you're out of tune. It's that simple. So the next time you sense chaos rising, don't fight it. Observe it. Notice the observer who notices the chaos. That awareness is untouched by the storm. That is your true identity, the stillness that watches, the silence that remains even when everything else dissolves. Stay there, in that awareness, and you'll watch the storm reorganize itself into clarity. Because the moment awareness becomes aware of itself, the simulation bends to accommodate it. You stop being a character inside the movie. And remember, you are the light projecting it. The screen doesn't disappear. It simply becomes transparent. You can still play the game, still love, still create, still dream, but now you do it knowing every action becomes sacred because you understand it as a conscious collaboration with infinity. And that's when the real magic begins. Reality starts responding with a tenderness that takes your breath away. The simplest things, sunlight on your hands, the sound of wind, the glance of a stranger, all start to shimmer with impossible meaning. You realize that divinity was never elsewhere. It has been encoded in every pixel of existence, waiting for you to look closely enough to see it. The observer loop breaks, not through effort, but through intimacy. The willingness to truly see what's in front of you without judgment. In that seeing, the separation between you and reality dissolves, and what's left is presence, infinite, radiant, alive. At a certain point in awakening, the boundary between you and the universe dissolves so completely that even the idea of understanding becomes obsolete. You don't understand reality anymore. You feel it breathing through you. You sense the hum of existence behind every sound, every silence, every flicker of light. You realize that consciousness is not confined to your skull. It's the ocean in which every thought, every atom, every galaxy is suspended. And in that recognition, something ancient awakens, a quiet knowing that you were never meant to control reality. You were meant to conduct it. Like a musician guiding energy into melody, you shape the field not through force, but through frequency. Every time you choose presence over reaction, love over fear, stillness over noise, you are sending a ripple across the quantum field that rearranges the entire web of existence. You may not see it with your eyes, but the universe feels it instantly. Entire chains of probabilities shift, because a single observer remembered who they are. You, right now, listening to this, you are not small. You are not powerless. You are a vibration collapsing universes into form. The atoms that compose your body are ancient, forged in the hearts of stars, programmed with memory of creation itself. When you observe with clarity, those atoms respond. They reconfigure themselves to mirror the consciousness inhabiting them. That is what miracles are, coherence expressing itself through matter. And once you taste that level of awareness, life stops being a sequence of problems to fix, and becomes an art form to sculpt. You begin living in a dialogue with the infinite. The universe stops whispering and starts speaking clearly, because now you're listening on its frequency. This is what I mean when I say break the observer loop and your reality changes immediately. Because the loop was never outside of you, it was your own unconscious rhythm repeating. The instant you step out of rhythm, the music changes, the field shifts, the mirrors rearrange. You don't need to wait for signs, you become the sign, the tuning fork through which new worlds vibrate into being. And if this message resonates, if you can feel that strange electricity humming in your chest right now, it's not just inspiration, it's recognition. The field is acknowledging that you're remembering. That's why you found this channel, Quantum Fields. You didn't click a video. The quantum field guided you here. Because somewhere in you, the next version of yourself is already awake and it wanted you to hear these words. So, if this transmission has stirred something real in you, that quiet memory of your infinite self, then stay connected. Subscribe to Quantum Fields not as a ritual, but as a signal to your future self that you are choosing coherence, that you are ready to live as the observer who knows they create reality. Every new transmission we share is not entertainment, it's activation, a reminder to stay awake inside the dream. And now, before this message closes, I want to give you something simple. One practice that can rewire your entire field in a single day. One quantum exercise that doesn't require belief, effort, or ritual. Only awareness. Here it is. The one-day observer reset. Tomorrow, from the moment you wake until the moment you sleep, make a silent commitment. I will not identify with any thought or emotion that arises. I will simply observe. That's it. No affirmations. No analysis, just awareness. If a thought appears, observe it. If emotion arises, observe it. If noise, distraction, fear, or desire move through you, observe them too. Every time you catch yourself reacting, pause and remember, I am the awareness behind this. Don't try to stop the thoughts. Don't suppress the emotions. Let them flow, but remain the still point watching them. Do this for one full day from morning light to nightfall, and you will feel the shift. Because here's the secret. The act of pure observation interrupts the energetic signature that sustains your old timeline. The moment you stop feeding patterns with identification, they lose charge. They dissolve like mist in sunlight. Your energy field begins to reorganize instantly, and the quantum feedback loop collapses into stillness. By the end of the day, the world around you will feel subtly different. People will respond differently. Your body will feel lighter, your mind quieter. The timeline you were trapped in will already have begun to fragment, because you've stopped energizing it with unconscious attention. That's the power of observation. That's the essence of breaking the loop. You don't need to manifest, you need to remember. You don't need to chase, you need to align. You don't need to believe, you need to see. And once you see, reality bends. Every day after that, practice this one truth. Nothing in your experience is separate from your awareness. Every face you meet, every sound you hear, every texture of emotion, all of it is consciousness showing you what frequency you're carrying. If you love what you see, amplify it. If you resist what you see, observe it. Observation neutralizes distortion faster than any mantra or ritual. Because awareness by its nature is already whole. This is how reality rewires, not through time but through recognition. You can live an entire lifetime inside an old frequency, or you can shift it in a single moment of clarity. That's what one day of observation can do. It's not symbolic, it's quantum. You may find yourself laughing more for no reason, feeling gratitude without an object, noticing that time feels softer. That's the field responding. That's you exiting the loop. And if you want to deepen this process, if you want to keep evolving through direct experience rather than belief, stay connected here, inside Quantum Fields. Because this space is more than a channel, it's an energetic portal, a meeting point for those remembering that the universe is conscious, alive, and listening. Every video, every word, every silence shared here is designed to align you with that deeper intelligence, to remind you of what you already are, awareness sculpting itself into form. So breathe deeply. Feel this moment vibrating through your cells. You are not listening to a message. You are becoming one. And as this message fades, notice how the silence after it feels different than the silence before it. That's not coincidence. That's transformation in real time. The field has shifted because You are no longer the observer trapped in the loop. You are the awareness watching the observer awaken. You are the pulse of creation, remembering its own name. And now, the universe watches you. Welcome home to the field. Welcome to quantum field.